I hate to tell you this, but your aunt's dumpy grocery getter probably had a better engine than whatever you drive right now. That TrailBlazer everybody made fun of was hiding a straight six so good that guys are pulling them out of junkyards for $300 today. And the company that built it just walked away and let it die. I want to fix that today because I owe this engine an apology. See, I had these things on my lift for years and I never once gave the motor a second thought. Another early 2000 era SUV, fix the noisy fan, send it down the road, next. Then a customer in my shop told me what he paid for a used one out of a junkyard and why he wanted it so bad. That is when it finally clicked for me. The engine I had been ignoring for a decade was one of the best things General Motors built this century, and almost nobody remembers it existed. So let me take you back, because the story of how this thing got built is half the reason it deserves better. It is the late 1990s. Every car maker on the planet is running the same direction at the same time. Everybody wants a V6, short and compact, easy to drop sideways into a front-wheel drive crossover. That was the safe money. That was where the whole industry was sprinting. So what does GM do? It turns the other way and builds a straight six, an inline six. The layout most people had already buried, the thing they figured belonged in your grandfather's pickup. The official name was the Vortec 4200. Engineers called it by its code LL8. 4.2 liters, all aluminum block and head, dual overhead camshafts, 24 valves. And right there you should already be raising an eyebrow, because that is sports car engine hardware bolted into a family hauler. 4 valves per cylinder, 2 camshafts up top, in a truck that spent its life going to the grocery store and the Little League field. Now the part that really turned my head once I understood it was how they cast the block. GM did not pour this thing the normal way. They used something called lost foam casting. You build the entire shape of the engine out of styrofoam, the exact shape you want down to the passages, and then the molten aluminum floods in and vaporizes that foam and takes its place perfectly. That lets you create internal oil and water passages you simply cannot make with an old 2-piece sand mold, and you get no seams. That is real engineering effort. Nobody does that much work on a motor they think is junk. And it ran as good as it was made, which brings me to the thing that should have made this engine famous. It comes down to torque, and specifically where that torque showed up. This little six made right around 270 horsepower out of the gate in 2002, and by 2006 they had it up near 291. But the horsepower is not even the impressive number. The impressive part is that almost all of its pulling power was available down low, just off idle, around 1800 RPM. The magazine guys at the time tested it and basically said it tugged harder down low than any V6 they had driven. That is V8 behavior out of a straight six. You felt it the second you pulled out of a parking lot, and the world did notice, at least for a minute. This engine won Ward's 10 Best 4 years in a row, 2002, 2003, 2004, and 2005. 4 straight. Do you know how hard that is? You have got the Hemi out there, you have got the LS, you have got every German and Japanese motor in the world fighting for those spots, and this Chevy 6, in a boring TrailBlazer, took a trophy home 4 years running, and then the world completely forgot. So here's a question. If the engine was this good, why does nobody talk about it? That brings me to the fight I know some of you are itching to have, so let us have it. Everybody and their brother worships that old Jeep 4.0 like it floated down from the mountain on stone tablets. The Bulletproof 6, the engine that never dies, you have heard the whole sermon. And it is a good motor, I am not taking that away. But that beloved Jeep 6 made about 190 horsepower. This GM6 in the same era made closer to 290. On paper, it is not even a contest. The Chevy makes the Jeep look like a lawn tractor. Now the Jeep crowd is already typing, and I get it. The 4.0 has that long, lazy low end, and it earned its reputation over years of hard use on the trail. There is something to that. But my point stands. We gave one of those engines a religion and a fan club, and we let the other one die in a junkyard without so much as a thank you. That is not about which motor was better. That is about which one had a story people wanted to tell. So let me tell you where this engine actually lived, because it was not just the TrailBlazer. If you owned a GMC Envoy, you had it. Oldsmobile Bravada, the Buick Rainier, the Isuzu Ascender, all the same 6 under the hood. And here is the one that always gets people, the Saab 97X, the so-called Subaru SUV that Saab built off this exact GM platform, ran this same Chevy straight six, a Swedish luxury badge sitting on a Michigan truck motor. They were all the same bones. GM built one really good engine and quietly spread it across half a dozen brands, and most buyers never knew they were driving the same thing. But I have to stop you before you make one very common mistake, because I see it constantly. If you are picturing the TrailBlazer SS right now, that hot rod version that actually moved, I have bad news. That one did not use this engine. The SS got a 6.0-liter LS2 V8, the same basic motor family out of the Corvette, making right around 395 horsepower. So the fast, famous TrailBlazer everybody remembers is not the one I am talking about today. The one I am talking about is the quiet six that came in everything else, and frankly carried most of the lineup. The V8 got all the headlines, and the 6 got none of the credit. That was the story of this engine's whole life. Now look, I am not going to sit here and tell you this thing was perfect because you know me better than that, and because you have probably owned one and you are ready to argue. Let us talk about the problems, because there are a few real ones. Number one, and you knew this was coming, that fan. The electric fan clutch on these is famous for failing, and when it goes, it roars like a jet fighter at full throttle on cold mornings. Folks were convinced their truck was blowing up. The part itself is cheap, but it is buried, so the labor is what gets you. Funny enough, General Motors finally fixed it by the very last year and went back to an old-fashioned thermal clutch. Took them to the end to admit the simple way was better. Number two is the valve seats. There is a part up front that runs really hot, right next to a couple of the cylinders. Over time, that heat eats away at the valve seats inside the engine. Once that happens, the engine runs rough and loses power. Here is the silver lining though, and this is the kind of thing you only learn from living with these engines. If it is going to happen, it almost always shows up early, before 75,000 miles or so. Get one past that mark and running clean, and you have very likely got a good one. After that, the bottom end on these will go basically forever. And I mean forever, which is the whole tragedy here. GM ran these on the dyno out to 300,000 miles, flat out, and they kept going. Out in the real world, I have seen these trucks roll past 250,000, 275,000, still pulling like the day they left the lot, usually while everything around the engine falls apart first. The blend door actuators rattle, the switches quit, the suspension links clunk, but that 6 just keeps turning. You will rust the body off the frame before you kill the motor. Because here is where it gets good and where it gets sad. Most people assume an engine like this got killed because it had some fatal flaw, some scandal, some recall that buried it. Nope, nothing like that at all. This engine got killed because of where it was bolted and nothing more. See, an inline 6 is long. It only fits front to back in a rear-wheel drive layout in a real truck platform. And the entire industry was abandoning real truck platforms for those car-based crossovers I mentioned at the start, the ones where a long straight 6 simply will not fit sideways. So when the platform died, the engine died right along with it. It did nothing wrong, it just got caught in the middle. Then came 2008 and 2009, and you remember what that was. Gas prices spiked, the whole economy fell off a cliff, and the big body on frame SUV got hit harder than almost anything. GM closed the plant that built these trucks. The last one rolled off the line right before Christmas of 2008, and then GM itself went into bankruptcy the next year. In all that chaos, with the company fighting for its life, a quiet little award-winning straight 6 was the absolute last thing anybody was thinking about saving. There was no farewell edition, no final tribute, not even a replacement waiting in the wings. The lights just went off. Losing the engine in a bankruptcy would be a sad enough ending on its own. But what GM did next is the part that really gets under my skin. Here is the thing GM knew and never told you. They knew exactly how good this engine could be because they built monster versions of it themselves. GM teamed up with a famous engine builder and put race-spec versions of this same basic 6 into off-road trucks, and we are talking around 600 horsepower out of this same basic engine. And those trucks won. They won the Baja off-road races down in Mexico, brutal punishing events that destroy engines, and one of them won its class at Pikes Peak, screaming up a mountain. GM had proof in its own hands that this engine could make 600 horsepower and survive a beating most motors would never walk away from, so they had the receipts. And they still let it die in a grocery getter. That is the part I cannot forgive. They never gave it a sports car. They never gave it a hot rod. They had what could have been an American legend, an inline 6 with race wins and bulletproof guts, and the most exciting thing they ever officially did with it was haul your aunt to the supermarket. Imagine if they had dropped this in something light and fun and rear-wheel drive and actually marketed it. We would be talking about it the way people talk about the great Japanese 6s. Instead, it is a junkyard secret. And now, finally, the rest of the industry is circling back to the exact engine layout General Motors walked away from. 20 years too late, but here they come. Look at what is happening in the car business right this minute. Mercedes brought the inline 6 back from the dead. BMW never even let theirs go and people rave about it. And Mazda just spent years and a small fortune building a brand new straight 6 from scratch. The whole industry has decided the inline 6 is the smart, smooth, modern answer all over again, for the exact reasons General Motors already knew back in 2002. It runs smooth on its own, it is simple, it has one-cylinder head instead of two, and you can build a whole range of engine sizes from the same design. General Motors had the answer 20 years before everybody else rediscovered it. And General Motors is the one company that threw it away. But here is the part that should make you angry, not just sad. That is why those junkyard engines are not cheap anymore in the places that matter, and why guys are building them into turbocharged street monsters as we speak. The people who actually wrench understood what General Motors forgot. This was never a boring engine. It just got stuck in a boring truck at the worst possible moment in the company's history. So the next time you see a beat-up old TrailBlazer or an Envoy rattling down the road, do me a favor and give it a little nod of respect. Under that dusty hood is one of the best engines General Motors ever made. An engine that won 4 awards, won real races, and outlived the company that gave up on it. It deserved a better ending than the one it got. The least we can do is remember it was there. And before you go, one quick thing. If you own a Chevy or you are about to buy one, there is a video on this channel you cannot afford to skip. I ranked every Chevy model by what it truly costs to own, not the sticker price, the real number after years of repairs and upkeep. Some of the results caught me completely off guard. A few trucks everybody calls cheap to run are quietly draining wallets. Go watch that one next, because the Chevy in your driveway might be on the wrong end of that list. I will see you in there.